Hi, I'm Jennifer Quick with Soul Clarity Coaching. This is probably the most uncomfortable video I have done. I'm actually quite nervous putting it out, but I'm going to because it really has been a push on me to dig into this. I want to talk what's really going on in Canada. Now, there's no secret to my channel. If you've watched me at all, please subscribe, like, all that. But if you've been watching my channel or known me or anything about me, you know that I do not believe in the current narrative that is going on. I believe that all of, well, not all, but majority of the narrative that is happening amongst people, the divide, is being caused by the media, falsely, inaccurately, and just poor journalism. All right, sensationalism, and they're doing it for money. I also believe that there is an elite group of people that are controlling the planet as a whole, and they are orchestrating the events that are happening around the world in order to cause further divide amongst the people, because they want to suppress our spiritual development. They want to suppress what we are capable of being and doing, because they want to have control over what is happening here. In other videos, I will talk more, and I will be releasing more videos as to why that is taking place, but that is the basics of what it is. So now I want to zero in. We hear so much going on around the world I could go into politics around the world, and I will touch a little bit about that, but the first thing I want to focus on is Canada, because I am Canadian, and I want to talk Canada. And I don't find enough people are talking Canada. I will state right now, I am not right, I am not left. I leave the whole party system. I think it's crap, okay? Absolute crap. We cannot divide ourselves between right, left, and middle and anything else. We are not politics anymore. Our politics needs to be restructured to represent the people, because they become too distant. The system has broken from its purpose, which was to serve people and protecting the individual rights of sovereignty. And I don't believe our system is doing that anymore. We need to protect the rights as us, as individuals, as sovereign people capable of running our own lives. That's number one. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to protect ourselves, freedom of our property, all of that, step two. Step three, I also believe that as a nation and as healthy individuals, we need to take care of those in our society that cannot take care of themselves. That is really important as well. Okay? There's a lot more that I believe and get into, but I wanted to bring those out into the forefront. I really, really, really hope that I'm not going to get a bunch of trolls and crap onto my videos, and I'm hoping that the messages I put out help you navigate and understand what is happening in the world. Now, I do not believe that our political system needs to be completely torn down. I do believe there are some amazing good players that are up and coming and strategically placed throughout the political system. But we do still have some very, very corrupt people. Now, there is, from a perspective of removing perspective of spirituality and just looking at it with a closed, very physical, third dimensional viewpoint, these people could just be wrapped up in drama, greed, self-purposing, criminal behaviors like that. That could just be they are that way. From a spiritual perspective, I believe it plays into a higher agenda where it is infiltrated control. There has been a lot of infiltration throughout our political system that is toxicity. I do believe, if nothing else, whether you believe these are draconians from another higher soul group or leftover cabal, whatever it is, doesn't matter. I do believe that there is, I do believe that corporations have infiltrated into the political system, and that our politics are actually serving corporations and not people, and that needs to change. So I wanted to dig in here. So first thing I did is I went and Googled, what are the issues in Canada? And I was really surprised at what came out. First of all, I Googled it in the States, And it came up with these lists, top 5 concerns, top this, 10 concerns, top 23, and it was lists, and it was, everything you expected to see. I did it for Canada, and there was no list. It was a lot of articles and political persuasion. There was no clarity. And I often find this is the case, that there is no clarity between Canadian politics and US politics. Okay? Let me state right now, we are not the United States. We are a completely separate country. Okay? So stop wrapping up our political views, our social issues, our economy with the United States. We are influenced by the United States because they are our number one trading partners. They are our neighbors. They are really their family. We're all North Americans, okay? And they are the major global player on a world stage, okay? But we are not American. We are not a US citizen. We are Canadian. I am proud to be a Canadian. Please differentiate between being Canadian issues and American issues, because we are very different people. We are a very different country. All right. So first of all, get that clear. In Canada, so when I Googled it, I had to skim through articles to figure out what it was. And there was a lot of gibberish. So I kind of dealt out with it. Climate change is a big one. Housing is an issue. Immigration is an issue. Indigenous relations is another issue. LGBTQ is very big. And inflation in general. Okay, so those are some of the things that I filtered out when I was searching. So my list, I put it together as my list of what the concerns are here in Canada. The first thing, and this is the hottest thing, as I'm doing this video, the hottest conversation all day has been Alberta's released some information, or Alberta did something in regards to LGBTQ. I didn't bother looking into it, to tell you honestly. I didn't, yeah. Because I find the whole conversation around LGBTQ issues to be such a dramatized, sensational, dividing point. It gets under my skin on how poorly it is being addressed. Okay. First of all, we have laws in Canada that protect individual rights, freedom of expression, love who you love. That's the general population agrees. Love who you love. It ain't my business. If it's consenting adults, it ain't my business. And we're not overly concerned about it as an individual. Where the concern comes in, okay, is when it comes to our children especially, and when it comes to violence against LGBTQ. That is a very different issue than what's playing out in our media, all right, and what's being addressed by our politicians. First of all, any attack against somebody for how they express themselves and who they love and how they want to present themselves is absolutely ridiculous. And as a general Canadian, we don't believe in that. If you want to wear pants or you want to wear a skirt, all the power to you. Find something that fits. We all know in fashion, it's the hardest part is finding something that fits. Okay? Any violence against an individual is wrong and needs to be dealt with. So that's just right off the top. All right. Bullying in the schools has to be addressed. It's terrible. But the current status of how we're addressing the LGBTQ community is actually increasing attacks on LGBTQ, increasing bullying issues in the school, and it is causing a lot of confusion on the fronts. And really, I don't believe, from what I have seen, again, this is an opinion, right? Take it or leave it. If that expands your thinking, and that's all I want to do. I just want to expand how you think by sharing how I think. All right. I believe it is actually making the situation for them worse rather than better. All right. Now, I do realize, I will acknowledge and definitely realize that there was a lot of lack in education around what makes somebody a lesbian or gay or trans or queer or anything else. Okay. I don't believe that's being addressed. So around this issue, there are so many things that come into play. Hormone imbalance, which our environment is so toxic. We know that it's contributing to hormone imbalance. Go look up BPAs in baby bottles. That'll give you some history to it, just as one step down that aisle. So there is a hormone imbalance. There is a comfortableness in your skin. There is my language is terrible. What is it called when somebody feels disconnected or disassociated to an actual body part? Like, there are literally people in this world that feel like their hand is an alien item on their body. They feel any limb is an alien item on their body and it doesn't belong there. And they are completely disconnected. I can't remember the name for it, but this is an actual psychological issue that people have. This can be an issue in transgenderism, okay? There has been trans throughout history. This is not something new. Yes, it's on an increase. We have a higher population. We also have a very toxic environment that is messing with our hormones. So there is a lot of valid, real world science in regards to why people are transgender. Okay? This whole thing around lesbianism and gays and really and the trans dressing and stuff, this is really about what you're comfortable with and how you want to express yourself. Where's the harm? If a guy wants to wear a dress and you can find one that fits, as a woman who's shopped for many dresses, it's not an easy task. So if a man can find a dress that fits his body and he feels all the power to wear it, I have no judgment of that. Why should I? He's not wearing my dress. Okay, he's an adult. He can do what he wants. It's not up to us to make those decisions. It's an individual's right. Okay? So I hope I'm being clear. Like, these are real issues. What has lacked in that area is the educational understanding of parents who are very concerned about their children who experience this and grow up into a society that may reject them, may want to harm them. There are countries in this world that will still kill, maim, imprison, and harm anybody in the LGBTQ community. Okay? So, and there are still communities where violence against them happens. That needs to be addressed. That is human safety. It's not a specific safety necessarily overrides anybody else's safety, but it is an identified group that is requiring safety issues. Safety issue comes from understanding, education. So an education factor in parents, that you don't teach your child to be a lesbian, you don't teach your child to be straight. Okay? What is the difference between being straight, gay, or a lesbian? Let me tell you, this is real simple in my eyes, and some of you will tell me all sorts of crazy different viewpoints on it, and those are yours to hold all you like. Here's what I say is the difference. This is what determines whether you're straight, lesbian, gay, or anything else. When you meet another person and your knees go weak, your tummy turns inside out, and you have this overwhelming desire to be close to this person and intimate with this person, that is called physical attraction, and that will determine what you're attracted to. And guess what? It can change. You can be attracted to the same sex, the opposite sex, and years later you run across somebody else that attracts you in the other direction. All right? It's not a decision that you make in kindergarten. It's not a decision you make at any point in time in your life. It is a biological reaction to pheromones and chemistry and everything else, okay? That's called attraction. I hope, regardless of what you are attracted to, I really hope that you create marriages, relationships, long-term commitments, and life-sharing activities with people you are soul connected. Meaning your soul is attracted. You just like the vibe of this person. You like who they are. You want to be a part of their life. They want to be a part of your life. You're loving, you're supporting, and that's it. Okay? This is not something you identify as a child. This is something you identify as you experience life. Because your knees went weak, your tummy turned inside out, and you were drawn towards somebody. That's it. So let's get this whole the idea that you're going to decide this in childhood what you are, and then now you're okay, I've assigned this label to myself and that's what I am. I'm only attracted to women, or I'm only attracted to men, or whatever the heck it is that you're attracted to, or whatever. It might change. That's human condition. Okay, so that's where going into the schools, and there is no research. There is no legitimate research on messing with hormones. Ask any woman in menopause. They have not figured this stuff out. Ask any woman who experiences PMS. They have not figured this stuff out. All right? The human hormone system and the biology, the machinery that is our human body has not been figured out yet. And so to go in and hormonally mess with a child is criminal. And the only argument I have found that people have for this is because, well, if a person is transgender and or questioning themselves or having appearances where they might be in the future, we need to stop their hormonal development so that they can choose later in life, and then they can artificially stimulate the hormone development so that they develop a body that is more in a line with how they see themselves. This is crazy. I'm sorry, but this is child abuse. I will flat out say that. We don't have the science to back and understand. We don't have the knowledge and understanding of the human biology to know how this is going to affect these children. And second of all, what is wrong with being a short, thin man? There's plenty of them. They've been in history forever. What is wrong with being a 6'2" woman? Built like a lumberjack. Beat down any guy. What's wrong with that? They've been around in history forever. They've been a part of our community forever. Okay? That's the fact of life. I'm sorry. If you are 6'2", it doesn't matter if you're man or woman, if you're 6'2", and you're built like a tank, you ain't gonna be in the pony races. You ain't gonna be a jockey for the pony races. It ain't gonna happen. You're not built for the job. Okay? It's not, and nobody should make that decision in your childhood that that's what you're going to be and put you on a puberty blocker or a hormonal blocker or any other kind of blocker that stops you from becoming what you are, because they've decided that that's what you're going to be, or maybe you want to be. This is how ludicrous this is. Okay? That is the argument, is that their bodies will more align with their identity. I'm sorry, but we have to accept there are parts of my body I don't like. There's parts of the body that you don't like. And that's just the way it is. Okay? We have to accept that. It's not a reason to block somebody's development. Okay? To say that they don't want to be don't want to be tall. I've got a boy's body, I identify as a female, and I'm growing up, and I don't want to be tall because tall women are generally not accepted in society. Men don't find them as attractive, and I'm going to have a harder time finding a spouse later in life. I call bull on that, okay? Because it's that's just wrong. Again, I don't care what you are. I don't care how you look. There is somebody out there for you. And how do you identify them? Your knees go weak, your tummy turns inside out, and you're drawn towards them. Okay? Souls are connected to other souls. You are drawn to souls. Okay? There is somebody out there. If you are intended to come into this life and have a spouse or have a partner or have a date or whatever it is in this life, there is somebody out there for you. Okay? So, no. This is crazy. Doing this and asking a child in elementary school, apparently I'm really getting into this subject, asking a child in elementary school to decide which way they identify, they're a child. The only difference, this is crazy again. If a little girl plays with a car, it doesn't make her a boy. If a little boy likes to play house with the girls, it doesn't make him a girl. If he wants to wear a dress, it doesn't make him a girl. Okay, if he wants if a little girl wants to be rough and tumble with the boys, it doesn't make her a boy. Okay, children until they hit puberty and their bodies start developing and they have to learn how to get comfortable with this body, because it becomes like an alien body as a teenager. If you remember it, so there's a lot of struggles in getting, I mean, the human body as it transitions, especially the female body, personally I think it's more the female body, but then hey, that's my experience. But the changing of your body is traumatizing. It's weird. Weird things grow. Hair grows in weird places. Body parts change and look different. And it's like, and you have hormones that are all out of balance and going crazy, and you have all these funny feelings, and like that's just all your natural stuff that you're going through. And then you add the whole media and public arena that is social beliefs and everything else around it. That puts a whole nother chaos on it. But children should not be thinking of this any more than whether you sit or stand on a toilet. That's how much thought they should put into whether they're a boy or a girl. And I saw this raising my own children. Oh, must be more like a boy. Oh, she must be more like a girl. And oh, don't know. You shouldn't play with the boys because you should be playing with the girls. Or you shouldn't be playing with the girls. You should go play with the boys. They were separating them in school. It was crazy. All the girls line up here. All the boys line up here. How about all the people who like green line up over here? How about all the people who like cars line up over here? And who cares what gender you are, because it has nothing to do with what you like. Okay? Like, this is insane that we're putting gender identity into childhood, right? That's the argument to this. That's the subject that we're going on. This is a health issue. We do not need more pharmaceutical medical intervention. Pharmaceutical medical intervention. This is a business. Pharmaceuticals are a business. Okay? What we need is more resources for educating parents on how they can support their children in their natural growth and figuring out who they are. We need more counseling available for people and children of all ages and adults of all ages in all relationships. We need more help in understanding our psychology around the subject. Right? Those are the things we need. Right? But having surgery on a child? I'm sorry, but when I was 8 years old, I wanted to be a butterfly. At 51, I don't think I'm a butterfly. Okay? Like, we have to put this in perspective. We need to put psychological help. We need to put counseling. We need to be educating parents on how better to support our children and how they are developing in our life. Okay? Now, the media likes sensationalism. So they put drama and sensationalism on everything that a politician says so that it creates more viewership, which creates more drama, which gives them more money. Okay? But the end result is it's causing a divide in our society. That's what it's causing. And we don't need to be more divided. We're all human here together on one planet, one race. We're human. All right? I'm going to leave that subject. So the LGBTQ is a big subject in Canada. The homelessness. Now I'm going to go right from LGBTQ into homelessness, because LGBTQ, they say, is a homeless problem. No, it's not. A LGBTQ person can be homeless, yes, but homeless as a general is not a result of being LGBTQ. Having a problem with your parents and having youth on the street that are running away from their homes because they don't feel accepted at home, that is a problem. And yes, it's part of the LGBTQ community, but it's not exclusive to them. It's an entire human problem, okay? Where parents and children are having struggles communicating, they're having struggles understanding each other, and they are driven by fear. That's usually what's behind it, is a parent's fear for their children. Often spearheaded by religion. But hey, that's another video. We're not going to go into religion because that's a huge subject and I'll never shut up all day if that's where we go. Anyhow. So homelessness. Now, there are people who choose to be homeless as a way of life. There always has been. It's the freedom of the road. It used to be a romantic thing, but they used to make TV shows about it. The problem we have with our homeless today is not the people who choose to be homeless because that's what their way of life. We have a problem because they can't afford to pay rent, can't hold down a job, are victims of alcohol and drug addiction. Now, again, providing free drugs. So I can't get my good drugs that really give me a good high from my dealer because I'm broke, because my check from the government hasn't come in to buy them. That's okay. I'll just trot on over to the government who will give me the drugs that'll help me from having a complete freaking whatever crash from whatever drugs on it. I'll get that from the government and wait for my paycheck so that I can go and buy the good stuff again. This is the crap we got going on. And they model legalized drugs. They model this based on successful programs in some of the European countries. Again, half ASS program. It's again sounded good on paper, made for a good political headline and controversy. Why it worked in some countries around the world and is not working here is because those countries where it worked, they put their money into the rehabilitation. These drugs were not handed out loosely on the street. They were available to help addicts get off of the dependency for it. That is not what we're doing. That entire program needs to be scrapped and rewritten. All we are doing is creating zombies on the street. Addicts, we're making our streets unsafe. Crime is going through the roof. Crime is actually another thing that's on it. Going through the roof. Because people can't afford things and they're high on drugs. That's why we have so much bad crime. Street crime. There's two different types of crime. There's street crime and then there's criminal. There's organized crime, which is a whole nother game again, and can have political crime. We can have theft, we have murder, we have all that type of stuff. That's more, I don't know what the category to put that into, but you know what I'm trying to say. I'm talking about street crime right now. That could all be cleaned up by putting money into rehabilitation centers. Right now, we have people that they get a lucid moment and they want to start building their lives and they want to get off the drugs. They got nowhere to go. We're looking at 6 months minimum to get into a rehabilitation program. When you have motivation to quit, you need help now, not 6 months from now. You need help now. So that's where that problem is. And again, we're not addressing it. Media is not shining light on it. Our politicians are not talking about this correctly. So, and now let me also separate out, I want to separate this out. Drugs, marijuana, alcohol. 3 different things. Okay? Alcohol, really bad on the system. Drugs, really bad on the system. Marijuana, a little bit of a gray area. Okay? I'm against all 3 flat out. But I will say that there is some arguments in the marijuana. There is an ability for alcohol to be a part of our society. But again, it's far too emphasized. Our media, this whole culture of wine culture and beer culture, it's got to be cleaned up. Come on, again, the media's running too much marketing around this. Okay? Every woman who's got a child is apparently a drunk on wine, and any guy that's married who's got a beer belly and lives for his beer. This is crap. Like, what are we doing? I'm not even going there. I'm done with that conversation. Anyhow, what else did I have on here? So the drugs on the streets, so the homelessness, and we don't have homes for them. We don't have, these people need rehabilitation centers. They need counseling. They need resources to help them get themselves clean and healthy and somewhere to live and ability to go and hold down a job, be a productive member of our society. That should be our goal, not handing out drugs on the street. All right? We need to get our priorities straight and put the resources where they will actually make a difference instead of taping up, trying to scotch tape the dam together when it's broken fully free. And that's what we got right now. So homelessness is what I'm going to say. So this whole rent, the rent, the housing issue, the rent issue, the inflation rate, the ratio between what a standard person gets paid, what general salaries are, and the cost of owning a home, the cost of renting, are way out of alignment. And this is due to a lot of different factors, but foreign investment is a major part of that. God, take it home front. Home front. Okay? How about we just, if you're a foreign investor, you pay 3 times the price for it. But if a Canadian citizen wants it first, they get it first regardless of price. Hey, that'd piss off a world, eh? I don't know if that would work. That's just me horsing around. But that's where the problem is. Foreign investors jacked up all our prices. That's what, and this, we've got to bring it back into alignment with what it takes. If you own a home and you live in Canada and you work in Canada, it needs to be in alignment, and that has to be addressed. The other problem with the rental and the home issue is going into immigration. I am all for immigration, okay, but I am not for illegal immigration. I think you need to go through the process. I think we need to make sure that you're not a terrorist, that you don't have terrorist intentions, you're not a criminal. I think we need to make sure that you're going to be a productive member of our society. I think we need to recognize education that these people have, because there's very good education in other countries that's not being recognized here. Well, you test them. Test them. Put them through a program. Let's create a program that when immigrants want to come here, professionals from other countries want to come here and participate and contribute to making this country great. Why do we not have an assessment that says they meet our standard? Hey, great. Practice. We need you. Set up shop. Right? It used to be that if you were an immigrant coming to this country, you had to be able to support yourself, or you had to know somebody in here. That was kind of the way immigration always was. Now they're coming in here and they're on the streets. There's so many immigrants now that actually want to leave. They regret coming because we don't have the resources to support them. Okay? I am all for immigration. I want to value what the education, assess it, make sure it meets our standards here in Canada, and let them practice. Bring business in here. Bring the economies and jobs in here. Great. Filter out the criminals, the potential terrorists. That has to be in place. Okay, we can't have illegal immigrants coming into this country. It's a danger. It's a danger. There's people with bad intentions towards us. Not everybody likes Canadians. I know it's hard to believe, but they really don't. They're crazy. They're just crazy people that don't like a Canadian. I can't believe why, but anyhow, it happens. So we need to have these systems in place. I don't believe in immigration when we don't have the resources to match that immigration. So resources matched to immigration. That's what I see. When we have our resources aligned, and that is everything from due process, right? People should not be coming in this country and having to wait years to be processed as to whether they should be able to processed within a few days of arrival. Then they know whether they can stay and whether they can start living their lives. That needs to be brought down to within a couple of days. And then the process of an immigrant moving his family to Canada and being fully up in operation and recognized as a productive member of our society should ideally take less than a week, but at most a month. That's what we should be working towards. Now, when you listen to the politicians and you listen to the media and what they're reporting, is any of that happening? No. Is it possible to make it happen? Yeah, it is. Again, that's my stance on immigration. That's Canadian issues. That's the Canadian issue. Okay? We do have a massive amount of immigration coming, which is contributing to our homelessness problem. It's also contributing to our rental and housing problem. It's also, now the jobs. I want to talk about jobs because I don't understand what's happening in Canada. I don't know if it's happening in other areas of the world. I believe it might be, but in Canada, this is what I see. We have businesses that cannot find employees, and we have people ready to work that can't find jobs. Why do we have this problem? Why do we have so many unemployed and so many open jobs? Do you know what I think is the problem? I think the problem is businesses have resorted to relying on algorithms, companies, programs. They farmed out the hiring process. You no longer put a resume together, walk in the door and say, I want to work. We don't do that anymore. Somebody does that, they get to, oh, here, yeah, go online to our website and fill out the algorithm. And then if you make it through the algorithm, then the algorithm will tell me whether I should hire you, and then I'll hire you. Well, you know what? It doesn't take much. They have actual programs out there that you can put your resume through, and it'll fine tune your resume so that you're triggering the algorithm to get the job. That doesn't mean you're suited to the job. It means you know how to use a program, or you're intelligent enough to write your own resume that triggers an algorithm. Employers, start acknowledging the guy that's standing in front of you saying, I want to work for you. I want to help you build your business. Now, this is that line, help you build your business. As an employee, this divide between business and employees has to stop. Again, this is being driven by a narrative that's false. Employers, hire people face to face. Choose who is going to represent your business. Invest in training that person properly, and invest in building a team. As an employer, you are a leader of a team that is providing a service to the public, or wherever whatever your service is, right? Employees, if your boss, if your owner of the business is not making money, you don't have a job. That's how this works. Okay? That's the bottom line. When you become an employee, you are trading your time to that person in exchange for money. But if that person is not making money, they are not going to pay you for your time. So, while you are there putting in your time, you are serving the purpose of the business, which is providing whatever you've been hired to do. All right? It's not about resentment. You need to work together. Owners, when you are making good money, share it with the employees, because they'll be more loyal to your business, and your business will flourish. And this is actually I'm lacking words again, but the harmony between worker and owner, business owners, like, we have to bring that back together. Support your employees. If you've got a good employee, don't sack him before his retirement and rob him out of his retirement package. You agreed to that. Stand by your agreement, for God's sakes. Right? Come on. You don't do that. You don't treat people that way. You treat them as best as you possibly can. So do that to your employees, because they are giving you the most valuable commodity they have, which is their time. Value it. And if you value them, and you choose them correctly, because you actually didn't go through an algorithm, you actually met the person, you will get an employee that believes in your company. And even if that employee, for his own life journey, decides to leave your business, they are still going to be the Pied Piper out there saying how great your business is, because you treated them well. And every customer that they have served, and every customer that they talk to out in the world, will have a positive view of your business. It's symbiotic. That's the word. Symbiotic. Come on. So start hiring face to face. And if you want a job, clean up and present yourself. If you are an employee, you are a representative of that business. Give it the respect that position deserves, and show up respectful of that business to the customers. All right. So I'm going to leave that. That's a big thing around jobs. All right. That divides that's happening. And it's the push that we farmed it out. And again, that's going back to what I talk about a lot with my clients, and that is being responsible for ourselves. Okay? Your business, you are responsible for who you hire that represents your business. Stop farming it out to an algorithm. It's crap. Anyhow, rant over on that one. We're going to move on. Racism. Okay, racism in Canada. Interesting subject. I actually, I'm in BC. Okay, in BC, I don't think it's particularly racist on the general. We have a pretty, across Canada, we have a pretty multicultural relationship amongst us, right? Like, take responsibility yourself, love, peace, honor each other. You know, we have an agreed constitution, value our constitution, love our country. You're welcome here. There's not a lot of, I don't believe there's a lot of racism, or there hasn't been in the past. There is now. I see it all over the place now. It's ridiculous. But again, I think the media has bred that and has caused us into this divide. What there is in Canada has been a definite issue around the Indigenous community, the Aboriginals, Natives. There's multiple. We do not call them Indians in Canada. This is one of the biggest differences. Okay, United States still calls their indigenous citizens Indians, which is really, in my opinion, a joke on the Europeans, because it was the Europeans that thought they landed in India. That's kind of a little bit of a brain dead. I shouldn't do that. Sorry, that was bad. But it's a bit of like, come on, really? Joke's on you. You're idiots. Okay, I don't know. Whatever. I'm sorry, my language is off. Okay, anyhow. But that's a big difference between Canada and United States. We don't call them Indians. All right? They're indigenous, they're native, they're Aboriginal, First Nations. And again, I'm not a big fan of the First Nations title on it, because I think it goes into politics, and I think that's wrong. But they are a culture that was here before the European. And it wasn't actually, I want to point this little piece of history out that is not often talked about. When there's a lot of foreigners that came to North America, Canada specifically, I'm focusing on, that came here long before the Empire, the British Empire came. Okay, long before the British merchants and everything came. They came here, migrated here, and they actually worked with the indigenous population and amalgamated into them. They integrated into them. They became part of the community, and there was actually a piece, and they've got hundreds of years of this. There's a lot of history that shows that different nationalities had come to Canada, and there wasn't a problem. When the problem actually started, even the settlers that first came over from Europe weren't a problem. Where the problem came was when the British merchants came over, and they convinced the European trappers, farmers, and stuff that the Aboriginals of the land were a danger to them. And they actually ran a propaganda campaign to cause these two groups to polarize against each other. And the reason they did that is so that they could take more land from the Aboriginals, all right, and have more of a military force against the Aboriginals to take their land for profits. This is all about profits. Again, this is all about that higher elite, and I mean extreme corporation level, world domination level organization that is causing divide in the people. That's where that originated from. So anyhow, I sidetracked. Back to today's issues. Today's issues is we still have, so the history of Canada is that we do have a lot of rural areas, and the intent of the average person was to create schools where Aboriginal children could learn the modern European way that was dominating living in Canada, and that's what the average person thought it was about. They allowed these schools to be run by Catholic religion, which was very harsh, very closed, and wanted to remove them completely from their beliefs, from their culture, and make them into Catholic citizens. All right, so the average person that was just working and living, what they saw living in communities, the average person living across Canada in these communities, and again, a lot of rural communities, what they saw was that Aboriginal families, their children were being sent to elite boarding schools and educated so that they can thrive in society, where because they weren't Aboriginal, their children, the average person, the average European settler, whatever, the average Canadian that was not Aboriginal, they saw their children left back in these communities without the resources, left to fend for themselves. There's some resentment that grew there, but there was also a recognition of how the influence of the settlers had changed the way life was being lived on the land, and that the Aboriginals needed to learn these new ways. So this is the average intention, so the average understanding of it. Now, the corruption, again, that came down through religious beliefs, through political insanity and politics and media coverage and propagandas that were put out, these were horrible places. Children were abused, as they were in pretty much every boarding school around the world. I think if you put your kid in boarding school, you might want to take a look, because public school is pretty freaking scary these days. I can only imagine boarding schools. And let's say the Catholic, like, we all know what's going on with the whole Catholic abusing of children, okay? So that's unfortunately largely what happened to these Aboriginal children. And it happened over multiple generations, and they was so harshly taken from their homes. Like, it is so much trauma and abuse that was put there by religion and government, all right, and supported by propaganda put out by the media. It's not by the average person. The average person actually didn't realize what was actually happening. Now, backing this as well is that a lot of these communities where the average person, and I was living with Aboriginals in a lot of, there is, and to this day, it is rampant with alcohol and disease problems, alcohol and health problems, okay? They're still not being addressed. They're not. We're handing out money. I know of prisoners that are receiving massive, like, thousands of dollars while they sit in prison. They'll never get out of prison, but they're receiving this money because they're Aboriginal. That is not helping the alcoholism problem. Rehabilitation centers, counseling, family integration, family services, social services. That is what's clean drinking water. Do you know in Canada there's people that don't have clean drinking water? These are the issues. But again, our media and our politics are telling us otherwise, and they're making up, let's make a committee, let's make a law, let's do it. No, let's actually get our boots in the soil of the land and actually fix the problems that are happening. That's what needs to happen. All right? So again, and of course they run this narrative in our media that causes divide and blame and putting people against each other, and not realizing it's not your neighbor that did this to you. It's the religious structures and our politics and the media that had done this to you, not your neighbor. So stop attacking your neighbor, okay? Now, one of the other big issues around this is the actual burning of churches is a huge issue in Canada. And this is destruction of property. It does not need separate addressing as an issue. It does not need more policy around it. It actually just falls under laws we already have and actually just needs to be enforcement. There is no justification in burning down property. It is a hazard to our environment to have fires set, and if you don't own it, it ain't yours, period. So it just falls under our general laws and needs to be enforced. Now, that enforcement, again, these people who are burning these churches down, obviously they are coming from an extremely traumatized place. They are lashing out from pain and from fear. That needs to be addressed. These people do not need to be locked away and criminalized and abused by the system that way. They actually need help processing their trauma. So why aren't we that's where we need to be addressing it, not making more committees to assess it, not making more policies to be paperwork through. We need boots on the ground helping these people process their trauma. Okay. Now, what else did I get? So, our education system. Like, really, just, okay, taking the whole LGBTQ, SOGI agenda and all of that out of the whole education, we are not educating our children to be productive citizens of our society, and we really need to address what we are teaching our children in school. I'm going to leave it at that. There's far too much. We are not educating. The entire system needs to be taken back to producing. We should have a focus in our education system should be towards producing productive members of our society, should be the primary focus. And the secondary focus should be identifying the unique contributions of each student that they have for our society, which means developing what their gifts are. All right. That is the priority of it, all right, of our education. And that's where we need to get back to and take the politics out of our schools. Schools now, our schools are a community hub center because you have parents and children. So it is an excellent access point for community services. And we need to invest in community services that are helping people fulfill the roles. Nobody knows how to be a parent. We learn on the fly. And, some help in dealing with the struggles that we face in raising our children, that would be really helpful. Proper assessments as to what as our children's learning abilities are, and helping identify the skills, helping resources to help us identify the skills of what our children uniquely have to offer this world. That is what needs to be brought down and put into the community. As well as we need to create a sense of community, and a sense of community comes from celebrations together, joy together, and working together. So we need to bring it more input and resources into connecting with our schools as a community, supporting each other. Okay, so anyhow, that there's, I'm going to leave that now too. Now, have I addressed everything? On my, climate change. That's the final one to address. Okay. There's so much around climate change. And in the United States, again, separate Canada from the United States. We do not have control over what the U.S. does. We just don't. We don't have the political clout. We don't have the resources. Like, the Americans barely know that we exist. Like, we don't have a lot of influence over them. We have a lot of influence because those who do notice Canadians love us, right? So we do have an influence. Lead by example. But we do not have a direct ability to affect what happens in the U.S. So separate out Canada from the U.S. In Canada, we have chosen to go this route of taxing the average person carbon tax. I have tried to research this. I have tried to wrap my head around this. I do not understand it for the life of me. All right? We tax the crap out of our citizens. And where does that money go? The big polluters, the manufacturing, the mining, the resources, like the big contributors, the destruction of our trees, all of that, the big polluting contributors to the problem are getting tax credits. They don't pay carbon tax. It's the person who has to drive their kid to school or drive to work, which we don't have an infrastructure where they have a choice of whether to drive or work. They have no choice. If you want to put food on your table, then they have to get in a car and they have to drive to their work. Okay? And that's who's being taxed. Why is the manufacturers not being taxed? That's who should be carrying the weight of it, not us, not the individuals. Stop punishing the people that can't that don't have an option. We're just trying to survive and feed our kids again, right? So That's it. And where is the money going? That money, carbon tax, if you're collecting a amount of money to fight the environment, how is it fighting the money? How is it fighting the environment? It's providing money to a politician and in a budget, but is that money being reinvested into environmentally friendly products, environmental supplementations of industries to help bolster them, help grow that? Really, I don't see it happening. Now, I do remember back previous to our current government being in power, and I wasn't as much on politics because it wasn't as much in the media, but I do remember a proposal that polluting businesses were going to be taxed more, and that money was going to be directly given back to environmental, sustainable businesses to make their products cheaper for the consumer so that the consumer can put their money in that direction. Okay, because any consumer given two products at the same price will choose the healthier product, the one that's better for the environment, the one that's sustainable, the one that is better for their body, their family. Obviously, it doesn't take much to figure that out. So supplement, make it so that the products are there. So this whole carbon tax issue around our climate change, where is it being put in? Is the money for carbon tax being put into increasing the safety structure of our buildings, making new schools that are equipped to handle the changes in our climate? And I don't see that happening either. All right. Now, so that's my thing on climate change. I'm not going to go more into that because I want to try and get off of this. This has been a long rant. Anyhow, the final one I got to talk about is the war. We are putting so much money into war around the world. I'm probably going to do another video like this and talk a little bit more about the world stage, but I'm going to drop this here right now. We do not create a peaceful world by having war. We have to negotiate. We have to talk. We have to come together as communities. We have to support each other. We have to stand individually and come as strong individuals, handling our own crap to the point of overflow that we can now help others. That's actually how we come together as a world environment, I believe. Okay? Right down to the individual. If I am struggling in life, I have nothing left over to help my neighbor. But if I am thriving in life and I am holding my responsibilities for my individual, I now have overflow that I can help my neighbor. That's the direction we have to look at it. So this is why I actually really love terms, the political terms. Bring it home. I love that. Let's make Canada great, like all those type of things. I love those slogans because really we do need to make our country great. We need to be an example of the world of how a country can be fantastic, and we need to build our country to the point that it overflows, and the overflow can help uplift the other countries. Okay? War is not a way to accomplish that. What actually war is about, and again, this is my belief, this is all politically based, and if you look behind this world, it is all about child trafficking, money laundering, military power struggles, right? And what else is it about? About it, right? It's about strutting your stuff against each other. There's a lot of strutting and peacocking around. There is definitely hiding crime. Trafficking of all human trafficking is skyrocketing. It's the same thing with open borders, by the way, too. It's all about trafficking. The numbers for that has gone through the roof. That should be on our concern. Protecting our children from trafficking, protecting our men and women, boys and girls, all like. That's what war is about. So I don't support any wars. All right? And I would like to just point out, when you are hearing on the media, remember, they are looking for sensationalism. They are looking to pull emotional drama out of you so that they get more viewership and then they get more money. That's what it's about. And the more they drive the agenda of an overarching power, the more money they get, because the media is owned by 6 companies in the entire world. The entire world. All media. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. There are main media, mainstream media. It's all owned by 6 companies. There are individual fringe, unacceptable views. There is that. I think I might fall into that with this video. Anyhow, I will talk more and more another day. Love you all. Thanks for sticking with me in this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like my channel, subscribe, share it. Help me with my numbers. I'm trying to grow my channel so I can actually spread more information and spirituality in the world. Look through the divide. Really. This is the game. We're playing for our lives right now. This is for our souls. This is a spiritual battle on earth that we're going through. And now I want to leave this on a positive note. Human resonance is rising. Human consciousness is rising. We are far more aware of our globalism. These are growing pains towards a much more unified, compassionate, loving world. I guarantee you it is the fact, that is the future. We are paving the way through it. We are in the chaos of an evolution. We will get through this, and on the other side, it's a beautiful place. I really honestly believe that. And yes, we will see it in our lifetimes. All right. Love you. Have a good day. Subscribe, like, share. Bye.